Welcome back to the channel, lads and lasses. Who should Eddie Howe sign in this transfer window? So with the new season right around the corner, there's one massive question on every Newcastle United fan's mind. How does Eddie Howe build a squad that can actually fight on all fronts? We've had a taste of success, we're back in Europe, and the ambition on Tyneside is sky high. But you know as well as I do, standing in the Premier League means that you're standing still. You're actually going backwards. The transfer window is massive. It's a balancing act between having ambition and dealing with the profit and sustainability rules looming over us all, which means every single signing has to be smart. Today we're going to go into detail. We're going to go position by position and look at the spots that need fixing. We'll talk about the players the club is already chasing, get over the recent heartbreaks, and maybe even throw in a few surprising names into the mix who could be absolute game changers for Eddie Howe's Mags. This is how we build Newcastle's dream squad. So, starting off with the goalkeeping department first. Alright, let's go from the back. The goalkeeping situation is really interesting. Nicky Pope has been brilliant for us, a proper old school shot stopper who's won us tons of points. But the game's changing. Eddie is now in the need of a player that fits his style these days. You need a keeper who isn't just there to save shots, but start the attack. A keeper who's good with his feet and can beat the press with one pass. That's the next step for Newcastle United. It means we need a new type of player between the sticks, and the name that everybody's been talking about, obviously, is James Trafford. This move just seems to make sense on so many levels. It looks like it's very, very close to being done as well. He's a young English international, and he's got that modern playing style that Eddie Howe is looking for. It feels like this one has been going on for ages. Reports have been suggesting that agreement is close and the talks are moving in the right direction after a failed bid was rejected. Burnley going up into the Premier League as well means that they need money to spend. So that means this deal is more likely to happen. The fee will be big, especially with the sell-on clause Man City have of 20%. This fee is reported to be 30 million plus 5 to 15 mil add-ons, so 45 million. Biggest price we've seen anybody pay for a player before. And the biggest price we've seen for a goalkeeper since Jordan Pickford went to Everton. But what if, that deal for Trafford was not a go-through, but it is obviously a bit of a left field option. Could be Feyenoord's Justin Bijlo. He's the club captain, Dutch international, another keeper who is really comfortable on the ball, and he fits a high potential profile with Target as well. He's got a bit more experience than Trafford, at 27 years old, while still being young enough to have his best years ahead of him. He's a leader. He's won things as well over in the Dutch league, and you can't have enough of that in the dressing room. It's an alternative for sure, but a really strong one. So that's the goalkeeping department. Obviously, that looks like it is going to be James Trafford. But moving on now to talk about the defence. The centre-back area is always the most important area. We need money to spend on this. Think about Fabian Shaw, as good as he is on the ball. He isn't getting any younger. Dan Burn is an absolute warrior, but he's also the other side of 30. And Sven Botman's injuries showed just how thin we are at the back. And to kick on and play that high line, intense football we want to, we need more pace, more youth, and more quality. We need long-term partner for Botman and someone to eventually take over from Shaw. One of the most exciting Premier League proven options is Tomori at AC Milan. Reports have suggested that the former Chelsea man, who has gone on to win the Serie A title and has been offered to Newcastle, according to reports, and is keen on a move back to England. He has the blistering pace we're crying out for in the back line, and at 27, he brings a perfect blend of experience and long-term quality. Bringing an England international back to the league after he's succeeded abroad as well would be a huge statement, sort of similar to what we're seeing with Kieran Trippier. And another name that just won't go away is Mark Guehi, but it looks like he's going off to Liverpool anyway. He's an established England international, Guehi, great on the ball, and is entering the final year of his contract, which you'd think would make it cheaper. But like I said, the problem is with the other top clubs reportedly sniffing around, it could turn into a bidding war, and that's something that the club will want to avoid, as we got into last season. But this is where it gets exciting. Let's look at what the club does best, signing the top young players from Europe who have massive potential, resale value. Look no further than two lads at Sporting Lisbon, Ousmane Diomande, who unfortunately at the moment looks like he might be going to Palace, but we might be able to hijack that deal, as Chelsea have done with the João Pedro one, and Giancarlo Ignacio from Sporting Lisbon as well. Diomande is an athletic freak. He's an absolute powerhouse who is also amazing on the ball with an insane pass completion rate. Ignacio is that classy left-footed defender who can start attacks from deep, just like War Fabi. Getting either of them would be a massive statement that we're building the defence for the next 5 years, not just next season. That'd cost a lot of money, of course, but they are exactly the signings that can change a club's future. So, okay, we've covered the defence, we've covered the keeper, but the attack is where the drama has been at the moment and where the big money needs to be spent. But before we get into that, the wingers and the strikers, I want to know what you all think. Let me know down in the comments below which defender should be Newcastle's number one priority. Is the Premier League experience of Tomori the option, or is it possibly trying to beat out Liverpool for Mark Guehi, which didn't work last season as Palace will keep moving the goalposts? Or do we go all out for massive potential of Diomande and Giancarlo? It's Sporting Lisbon. Drop a name, let's have a debate, and if you're enjoying this, do me a favour and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. So, moving on to the attacking side of things. Let's start out wide. Anthony Gordon's been incredible on the left, but it's obvious we need another dynamic goal-scoring winger, especially on the right. We need someone who can give fullbacks nightmares, stretch the pitch, and most importantly, chip in with goals and assists to take some pressure off of Alexander Isak. The transfer saga of the summer so far is the chase for Anthony Elanga, which looks like we might possibly be on the verge of getting from Nottingham Forest. After missing out on other players, it seems that the club has really zeroed in on him of late. Our first bid of around 45 million was knocked back, but the word is we're getting really close and going in with a better offer. He just fits the Eddie Howe player profile perfectly. He's direct, seriously quick, works his socks off, and at just 23, he's got so much room to even become a better player. He knows the league, so he would be needing no time to settle in, and the thought of him linking up with his Swedish teammate as well of Alexander Isak is pretty exciting, I've got to say. Another name that's been mentioned a lot is PSV Eindhoven's Johan Bakayoko. The Belgian winger is a bit of a different player to Elanga. He's more of a tricky dribbler who loves to cut inside. He had a brilliant season in the Dutch league and would give us something different in attack. But for a pure explosive surprise target, that would be Jesper Lundstrom from Napoli. The Danish international can play out wide or as a number 10. He's technically gifted and creative, and after a so-so season in Italy, he might be available for a decent price as Napoli look to exchange their squad. That kind of versatility is exactly what Eddie Howe loves in a player as well. We've seen it with other players that he's signed already. But finally, the number 9 spot, or maybe the flexible forward spot. Alexander Isak is obviously the main man here, a world-class talent, brought in for 63 million, and everybody wants him. But with Callum Wilson now departing the club as of today, along with John Ruddy and the others, that their contracts expired, we just can't go into the season with Champions League football relying on one top striker. Obviously, we've got Us there as well, but he's still pretty raw talent and still needs to develop his game. We need quality, we need depth, and we need options. And this is where we'll have to talk about the elephant in the room. João Pedro, for a while, it looked really like he was our man. Newcastle have been interested for years in putting big offers of around 50 million, but it was a real kick in the teeth when Chelsea came in under the radar, thanks to his agent, giving them the no of coming in and stealing João Pedro from underneath. And it looks like he's heading to London now, which has been confirmed by Romano. It's a huge setback somewhat and a bit frustrating, but the club can't afford to sulk on it. We'll have to move on. We'll have to be fast with this. So where do we go from here? With a big chunk of the budget still there, we could still aim for a big name like RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko maybe, but he'd cost a fortune, and every top club right now is having a look at him. A more realistic and honestly a very smart alternative would be Jonathan David from Lille. His contract's just ran out, so he's a free agent. And while that means he'd want a big wage and a sign-on fee, it does save with a massive transfer payment. He's been scoring goals for fun in France for years, and he's got that pace and smart movement to play as the main striker or in the pairing with Alexander Isak. He wants to join a club fighting for trophies as well, and that's exactly what we're doing and trying to do, which we won the League Cup last season, so that might influence his move. And then there's the wild card, Paulo Dybala, the Roma forward, is pretty low release clause. That makes him a very tempting option as well. His Champions League experience, his creativity, his finishing are all top class. He will bring a bit of stardust to the attack extra as well. That could be the difference on those big European nights. Maybe a short-term signing, but what a signing it could be. That's all I'll say on that one. So that's where we are. It's a summer of massive decisions for Eddie Howe. The club, the frustration of missing out on some top targets like João Pedro and Brian Mbeumo is real, but it can't be what defines this window. The plan is still clear. Make the spine of the team stronger, add youth, add pace, build a squad that can handle playing in the Premier League and Europe, and deal for James Trafford seems to be right around the corner. And it looks like we're just waiting on an official confirmation from the club by now, according to the reports, which would sort out the goalkeeping position for the long term. The push for Anthony Elanga is heating up as well. It looks like he could be a player for Newcastle United before pre-season kicks off. But the big two priorities now have to be a top-class athletic centre-back, maybe like Ousmane Diomande, and a proven flexible forward to play with Isak or as a backup to Isak, where Jonathan David looks like a seriously smart free agent option. This isn't just about spending money, it's about spending in the right way to keep this amazing journey going. That's my take on what Newcastle need to do this summer, but this is just the start of the conversation. I want to hear from you. Who is your dream signings for Newcastle United this summer? Now the Pedro deal is off, who should we be going for? Get in the comments and let me know. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you found this useful, as always, most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more Newcastle United chat throughout what's going to be a very dramatic transfer window. And cheers for watching. And as always, remember, like, share, subscribe, and how are the lads? And I'll see you in the next one.